What are the best oral peptides for weight loss? So if you're looking for a needle-free revolution in weight loss, I believe it's here. And I want to be clear that, in this video, every oral compound claiming to burn fat might not be delivering what it promises unless there's some serious clinical science and some great pharmacists behind it. So if you're using some of these expensive research use only peptides, that may just be a placebo. It may not actually be the structure, and especially if you're taking it orally, it may not be compounded in a way that a licensed pharmacist knows how to compound it so that these peptides can survive the harsh environment of your stomach. So today what we're going to do is separate the science from fiction. And we're going to talk about different compounds and talk about the mechanism and really how you can activate some of the fat burning that you want without using needles, because I know that can be somewhat intimidating. I think the most important thing that we want to ask is, where are these oral weight loss compounds moving? And we'll talk about some of the GLP-1s and what we've seen there. But we'll also talk about some of these other unique molecules like MK677, 5-amino-1-methylquinine. These are phenomenal, where people are getting real world results. Not just with weight loss, but in an entire metabolic overhaul. And so as I go through this, one of the things that we'll be talking about is many of these are still in the research phases. Many of these have been used by both longevity enthusiasts and biohackers alike. And so I'll try to separate out some of the clinical data on humans, but also give you an insight on what's to be expected and what's coming, because I think oral peptides, it will be a big thing in the future. Some of us, myself included, I would prefer to do injections over oral. If that's you, don't worry. Needles are not going anywhere from what I've seen. So here's the interesting thing. So in the 20th century, guess what was the standard of care for obesity? Amphetamines. What could go wrong with amphetamines? Well, they're using stimulants, and physicians were prescribing them freely. They worked by suppressing the appetite through the central nervous system because it's stimulated. When they discovered that there's cardiovascular consequences and they had a massive addiction potential, we started to move on because of the health risks. Then there was the DMP-24, and this was a metabolic uncoupler that was used in the 30s as a weight loss drug, and it experienced a periodic underground revivals ever since. You'll see DMP creep up all the time, but what it does, unfortunately, is it disrupts the mitochondrial protein or proton gradient, and it forces your cells to generate heat instead of ATP. So you lose weight because your metabolism is essentially running at dangerously high efficiency, and people can die from it. So don't use DMP, stay away from amphetamines. And then you have this era of the combination of drugs, which was fen-phen. And many of us remember fen-phen, which paired fenfluramine with phentermine, and it was effective for weight loss until it was realized that the heart valve was damaged, and then it had to withdraw from the market. And so what we've learned in all these compounds for weight loss is that we don't want something that's suppressing a symptom. And that's where I love peptides, because they're just precision tools that upregulate the gene expression for metabolic efficiency. So if you really want to lose weight, then there's three things that you want to focus on. Number one is creating more mitochondrial biogenesis. So enhancing your mitochondria will increase the amount of energy that you use even when you're sedentary. The second thing that you want to focus on is making sure that you're accessing the right hormones. These hormones, you have hormones like cortisol and estrogen. When they're displaced, you can have a very hard time losing weight. The third thing that we've found is that fixing this metabolic cascade, so your insulin resistance, that is such a critical place to be, because if you have insulin resistance, the glucose can't get into the cell and be utilized as energy. If you're not utilizing it as energy, it gets stored in a fat cell. And so these GLP-1s, which have made the headlines for a lot of years, they were first approved in the 2000s for type 2 diabetes. And you think of Novo Nordisk, they developed Rybelsus, and Rybelsus, what they found is that it used the SNAC technology. And so I have another video where I do a deep dive called Do Oral Peptides Work? And jump into that video if you're curious. But what they found is it required, when Novo Nordisk made this GLP-1, it required higher doses than the injectable version to achieve the systemic concentrations, but it worked. And it opened the door to whole new weight loss medications. And so, if you think about these compounds, one of the interesting things is, oral semaglutide, that was the gold standard of oral weight loss. Didn't work as well as like Ozempic or Wegovy, but it did seem to work through this SNAC technology. The new one that's coming out, you guys will see this very soon. I believe it's Eli Lilly that made the orforglipron. That one does seem to have some very similar outcomes as some of these dual agonists like tirzepatide. And so what you'll see is these GLP-1s, while about 10% of Americans are using it right now, there's so many more people that still are metabolically unhealthy. And so if we can give people access to those, especially people who are intimidated with injections, that can help change some lives. And you've probably heard me say before, I believe health is more contagious than disease. And so one of the things that we're looking at is when you can use a GLP-1 orally, then you want to think, okay, what do I want to protect? Well, your muscle mass. You don't want to suppress the appetite entirely. And so this is where there's a phenomenal peptide. It's technically a small molecule that turns off the fat accumulation and the fat storage system in your body. It turns off this pathway called NNMT. That pathway is turned off by 5-amino-1-methylquinine. And so 5-amino-1-MQ is this molecule that was studied at the University of San Antonio, Texas, and they tested 1,000 different molecules to see which one would turn off the expression of NNMT. Now, NNMT does have some beneficial properties. There's no pathway in your body that you ever want to turn off entirely. So ideally, you want to do cycles, 60 to 90 days of this. But what some of the preclinical data shows is that 5-amino-1-MQ, it helps with muscle contractility, so your muscles have more energy utilization. It activates this secondary energy system called AMPK. And when you activate AMP kinase, now what you're getting is this supercharge of mitochondria. You get this sirtuin activation. 5-amino-1-MQ also helps you with the NAD salvage pathway, so you have more production of NAD, and that cleans up the cell signaling. And this is oral. The other oral is you want to think, okay, what else is going to help with muscle? Well, 5-amino-1-MQ, and yes, it does seem to lower cholesterol. It helps downregulate inflammation, as do GLP-1s. But then you think, what about growth hormone? Now, Merck, they made this growth hormone molecule called MK677, abutamorin. And abutamorin has gained a lot of popularity. And I've got a video that you can watch on that one. But what it does is they used it in elderly patients who had low circulating IGF-1 levels. And what they did is they tested their frailty scores. They wanted to see how quick they could walk from one side of the room to the other, how hard it was for them to get up from a chair. They also looked at their IL-6, their tumor necrosis factor alpha, and they found that these patients had this metabolic insensitivity. That low circulating IGF-1 meant that they weren't recovering, they weren't getting deep sleep at night. But by using MK677, they had a dramatic turnaround. And so I'm excited because we're seeing that there's, not only is there MK677, abutamorin, that one's gonna make you insanely hungry, which that may be what you need if you're suffering from sarcopenia, or if you're not getting nutrients in, or if a GLP-1 has a stronger impact on your appetite suppression. And once again, do not do this on your own. Don't do this through research use only peptides, but work with a prescribing physician who only uses a 503A compounding pharmacy. That's where you're going to get the best benefits from these amazing medical innovations. But what we're seeing is, if we can stack this, if we can have something, we even have like hexarelin, maquimorelin, these are growth hormone releasing peptides. Maquimorelin is FDA approved to diagnose and treat growth hormone deficiency. So pretty powerful, and you stack those with the GLP-1, you work on the mitochondrial pathways, whether that's through 5-amino-1-MQ, or SLOOP 332, add some methylene blue, and I believe that we have a chance of solving this metabolic crisis together through oral means, and that's pretty exciting. So if you love this video, love to hear your comments on it. What are your thoughts about the upcoming future of oral peptides? And also, I'd love to hear any videos or any topics you'd love me to share or go deeper into. So I'm Regan Archibald. Appreciate you being on the channel. I'll see you on the next show.